Hello and welcome to Season Our, the platform where we speak truth to power. This morning, beg your pardon, we're just going to try and run through something very important here, and I need you to really share this broadcast. Remember, go there. They see the thing on there. Please subscribe, hit the notification button, and of course, give us a thumbs up. It's right there to my left as you're watching the screen. Go ahead and subscribe. Join us. Help us grow the platform. You are watching Season A, the platform where we speak truth to power. Now, we're going to talk about the issue that's currently going on. And I want us all to be very, very clear. I'm going to be very, very direct about this. What we need to be very clear about is that the planned Ecowas intervention in Niger is nothing more than the attempt by the colonials to recolonize the entire Africa. Let me say it again. It's an attempt to recolonize the entire African continent. And we mustn't fall for that game again. Because under the guise of trying to end the division, they want to create a division whereby already you see Mali, Burkina Faso supporting Niger. Now, if we go into war, they will say, "Oh, we're going to come in to settle it," and under the guise of trying to bring peace, they will recolonize. They are going to really recolonize us, and it is time we as Africans to wake up. Yes, we're in diaspora. I'm in the diaspora. I'm not going to hide that I am. But what I'm saying to you is that as an African, we need to we know the storybook. We all know it. All of us know the storybook, and we mustn't let it happen. The song is saying, how long are we going to suffer? It is time for us to allow our people to be the true sovereigns that they are in their own nation, in their own continent. We as Africans must protect Africans. Our unity must be non-negotiable. Our collective unity must be non-negotiable. 1 second, I want to show you something as we talk about this. So, like I said, what you see, the picture here that you see is Berlin Conference. The people in that picture, one of them was one of the chancellor of Germany at the time, and he had a meeting. 1 second, please. Let me just show you. So, like I was saying, what I want you all to be very aware of is that the colonials, they're united in our oppression. They are united in oppressing us. Look at this picture. The man here is Otto von Bismarck. In Berlin Conference of 1884, he put a meeting together where Europeans, the grandfathers, the great-grandfathers of the current Europeans, one of which, as you know, is Macron. Let us get Macron's picture up as well, because I don't like to just talk alone and not have things to back up, So we're going to put Macron in this picture. We need to be very, very clear of what is going on. These are the grandfathers of the people. So I want you to be able to, I want you to link the two to see. You always need to link the two. So that's Macron there. And I'm telling you that the agenda that Macron is pursuing is that of his grandfathers. Now, that's Otto von Bismarck that created the Berlin Conference. The agenda was to take over Africa and to never ever let us have our own, never let us have peace or be able to be in control of our own destiny. And they've succeeded in doing that for so long. Now, this generation of Africans, we need to wake up. You see, what Macron is trying to do in trying to instigate Ecowas to take over and chase and depose the military. I don't support military intervention, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is what is happening in Niger right now, the French are trying everything they can to have access to the mineral resources. Many of you would have seen on my program, I've talked about the fact that one of the largest uranium in the entire world is in Niger. France wants to continue to have access to that and not paying a true value to the Niger people. Niger people, every 1 in 3 light bulbs is made from uranium, and those light bulbs, that they're using in France. we could use the uranium could be used to create electricity for Nigerians. But why isn't it? Instead, they are paying for electricity from Nigeria. So you can see. So the point I'm making here is to know that there is a connection between Berlin Conference and the current leaders of Europe. They keep telling us to forget the past, but I'm here to remind you, the current leaders of Europe are carrying out the agenda of their great-grandfathers, and their grandfathers were united in oppressing Africans. We must make sure that we don't allow the coming generation to unite in oppressing us. The best way we can do this is for us to unite as Africans to free ourselves. That's why I keep saying our unity as Africans is non-negotiable. It is non-negotiable. So with that said, let's hear Mama Kandeh and hear what he has to say now. It's very, very important that we have a listen. So here goes.
As an African, a Pan-Africanist.
Yeah, that's Mama Kandeh. Mama Kandeh. Courtesy of course, Sahara Reporters. Here we go.
I am very concerned about the happenings in Africa, especially West Africa. Yagut, of recent, I have seen the Ecowas introducing the anti-coup d'etat unit. Ñu ne pour coup d'etat dafa wara stop. Ku ko def, they will form a big unit, ñu ñew attaque la. We are not in support of coup d'etat. Let me make that very clear. And I want them to hear this. We are not in support of coup d'etat. I was a member of the Pan-African Parliament and have advocated strongly for us to introduce a term limit to make sure that we do away with coup d'etats in Africa, especially in West Africa.
I agree. To end coup d'etats in Africa, we must take collective action. We must. Let me just do one thing. 1 second, please. 1 second.
And I want them to hear this. We are not in support of coup d'etat. I
Indeed.
was a member of the Pan-African Parliament and have advocated strongly for us to introduce a term limit to make sure that we do away with coup d'etats in Africa, especially in West Africa. So meaning, I am not in support of coup d'etat.
We shouldn't be.
But I have a concern.
Yeah, listen.
Before setting up a unit or anti-coup d'etat unit in Ecowas, isn't it time that the African head of states or the Ecowas head of states look into the reason why there are coup d'etats? What are the root causes of coup d'etats? Let them put their house in order first.
Yeah.
Before they set up an anti-coup d'etat unit.
I agree.
Let them put their house in order. And I believe their house is not in order.
Very good point. He's right. Let them put their house in order. We must put our house in order and stop being controlled by the likes of the Europe. They're still in control of Africa till date. And that's the point I'm trying to get you to understand. They are still in control of Africa till date. You see there? That is Macron. Macron is simply continuing with the same agenda of his own ancestors in African land. We must say no. What he's doing here, trying to instigate for division among Africans, is to ensure the continued domination of Africa by Europe. And they're all working together. Mark my words. They are all in agreement. This colonialism is hydra-headed. And it is looking for all means in which it continue the domination of Africa. And we mustn't fall for that. Again, once I state categorically, our unity as Africans must be what? Non-negotiable. Let's carry on.
This unit is set up to defend them and to protect them only, nobody else.
Truth. All the way.
What is more coup d'etat than your national constitution give you 2-term limit, 5 years, 2 terms? After serving 10 years, you want to change the constitution for another term. Is that not a coup d'etat?
Well said. No lies. No
because
lies.
you feel you have the powers to do that. The soldiers have the powers to coup d'etat.
Indeed.
That is also another coup d'etat.
It is.
And they are living with them there. They are there. In the name of civilian, putting on mufti clothes, calling yourself a Democrat, when you loot all the resources of your country, mislead people, torture them, imprison them, burn their businesses to us, and you call that a democracy? Or a civilian rule and an illegally elected government?
It's crazy.
The leaders must stop lying to their electorate first.
That's it. Very true.
They must stop the corruption. They must stop looting our resources.
Yep. Here, here.
They must understand that they are not a better citizen than anybody.
Indeed. Listen to the words, please. Listen
they are given a responsibility, a role to play to help develop the countries and make sure that there is peace and tranquility and respect the constitution of the country. But this is not happening.
No.
Example is this government. This government has lied to people in 2016 that they are going only for 3 years. Was that not a lie?
You see?
Who asked them to tell people that we are going for 3 years? Were they forced to say that? They went around the whole country, lied to everyone. When the people started reminding them, this is what you promised us, they threw tear gas on them. And the president is bragging, yes, when I threw tear gas in them, they never came back.
You see? You see? Because they got backing from the colonials.
Does that not anger the citizens? You throw tear gas on your people. Some of them are wounded and you stand out there and bragging that I throw them a tear gas. They never come back. That alone can anger the citizens. You promised the people you will have a security sector reform. It's never happening. The civil service sector reform is never happening. The Jani Commission was violated before the end of the commission. When you take all the assets of the former president, and now you are busy buying assets, your days are coming. I thought they should have learned, or they could have learned from this. Unfortunately, they are not learning. So before you create a unit to go against any attempt of coup d'etat, put your house in order. Stop lying to your electorate. Stop lying to your citizens. Stop looting the resources of your country. Stop corruption in your country. And then you can talk about anti-coup d'etat. When Alpha Kandeh was killing his people in Guinea, after serving 10 years, he said it was not enough. I want to serve another term. During the process, so many Guineans were killed. And I did not hear any Ecowas going there or condemning him. You know why?
See?
Because Guinea was too big for them, or Alpha was dancing to their tune.
You see? You see now?
Because I think that was why the small Gambia was surrounded all sides by soldiers and guns in 2016 because Gambia was small, or Gambia is a small country, and Jammeh was not dancing to their tune. After the presidential election in Guinea, more than 300 Guineans were butchered, killed.
I will keep saying this, and I'm hoping people will understand. What we call democracy is actually something very much like an imposition of as an illusion, because the people who are in power are still the Berlin Conference people, and they are the great-grandson of those, the great-grandchildren of those who imposed, who carved up Africa, one of which is principally, of course, Macron. And that's why he's trying to instigate that anything happens to African assets and French assets, they will come in and take over. It's a pretense to trigger the recolonization of Africa. We need to be very, very aware of that. That's what I'm trying to really reiterate here. Let's carry on and have a listen.
No Ecowas condemned him.
See.
No African Union condemned him. Instead, they pick up their phones and say, Monsieur le Président, félicitations, congratulations. That is the fair game that is happening in Africa. They can condemn Mali, they can condemn Guinea, they are soldiers. But the one in Chad, who has been given a red carpet from the African Union, was never condemned, and he's a soldier too.
Let's see.
He's a soldier. They can give him a red carpet to the African Union. But the other soldiers are condemned for their attempt or for their act. Where is the fairness in ECOWAS or in the African Union? They are not representing us. I believe they are representing themselves.
Indeed. And I would say not only themselves, they are representing the colonizers, who are, 1 minute please, who are the grandchildren, great-grandchildren of those who imposed Berlin Conference on us in 1884. Otto von Bismarck and all of that, all of them in 1884. They are grandchildren, one of whom is, of course, Macron. They are now trying to control and recolonize Africa again. We mustn't let that happen. Now you see why our unity as Africans is non-negotiable, because they are using some of our leaders as puppets against us. We need to come together as one in Africa. We must. Now, let's carry on.
So we are calling them to remember that power belongs to the people.
Indeed. Indeed. Indeed.
Alassane Ouattara knows how he came into power with Gbagbo. He knows. But he finished his 10-year term. He changed the constitution for another term. Mm-hmm. They are there with him. Mm-hmm. Nobody condemns him. Mm-hmm. They are not there to condemn him because he's dancing to their tune.
Exactly.
So I'm calling on ECOWAS to do the right thing. We young Africans, we are here watching, and we fear nothing. I don't have to be a president to be a Gambian. I don't have to be a president to contribute my quota towards national development. But I'm a proud Gambian.
Great.
A proud African.
Great. Great statement. So that was by Sahara reporters who exposed it, and of course the name of the guy, I think, is a guy something Fatou, was the guy who brought this out. But the point I'm making here is we need to understand, Africans, that we mustn't fight the war. We mustn't fight the proxy war of Europe on African soil, and dialogue must be the only way. We must not resort to war on African soil, because the people who will benefit from it are going to be the colonials, who will use it as an opportunity to recolonize Africa. We need to really be awake. We must stop this nonsense. France are still taking money as we speak from 14 up to 14 African countries every year. And then the money that they take from them, they loan back to the people they took it from. Is that not madness? And then they say some European order or world order of whatever. What world order? This is injustice. Remember, like I said, Europe, if they want to do things on their own and how they do it is fine. But as Africans in Africa, if we don't continue, if we do not begin to unite to reject the age-old plan of the colonials by way of their Berlin Conference all the way back in 1884, our coming generation will continue to serve them as slaves because we're not free. Africa is not free. Africa is not free. You saw what happened, how they took the life of Patrice Lumumba, and then they only gave a tooth. They dared to come and give a tooth back and say, we apologize. They killed 10 million. The King of Belgium killed 10 million Africans. But yet, when they don't, that is not mentioned anywhere. They said they will talk about Hitler and everything else. We all know comparison. How many people compared to how many? But they don't talk about that. They don't talk about what happened to Thomas Sankara. How they used Compaoré. Again, the same colonials interfered, used Compaoré to kill Thomas Sankara. They don't talk about how the same colonials went in when Thomas Nkrumah, with his great book, I believe I have it somewhere here, talked about neocolonialism. When he started realizing what the colonials were doing, how he was ousted from power. Sekou Touré, Steve Biko, the list goes on. Let me shock you. I want to show you something. You see, before we got independence, there was no coup. I wonder why that is. Let us show you a list of things. Pay attention. Pay attention. I need you to pay attention. I'm going to show you something. I need you to pay attention. There's a long list of things I want you to look at. Many people are not aware. Here is a list of coups. 1946 to 2004. 1946 to 2004. Look at the coup. Look. I want you to see. That's the list of coups. That's the list of coups. Since, and you look at the date, 1946, sorry. Since Africa started getting independence, coups. And who are behind the coups? Where are the weapons coming from? Where are the weapons coming from? Think. Let's have a look. Let's look at this. Where are the weapons coming from for the coups? Yeah? There are people, their children, brothers, sisters, generations, financing, ensuring that they control our existence as Africans in our soil, and they continue to exploit our resources. 1946, Berlin Conference, 1884. So that is clear evidence. Now let me show you one more thing. Again, I'm just going to bring that again. We're in 2023, and it's still coups that they're using. Now the table is being turned now by others trying to say, no, we want our resources in our land. And we as Africans should be free to choose and work with whoever we want to work with. No colonial has the power to tell us, no, you can't work with that one. France tells people, if you're going to do any business, you come through us first. And you say we are independent. How does that make us independent? How does that make the 14 African countries independent when they cannot speak to other countries without first going there to get clearance from France? Now you see. Let me just show you the coup list. You can see it's all there. Angola, Benin. You see? Burkina Faso. You see? They've been getting Burkina Faso. Look, let me show you the one here. Thomas Sankara. You see? Look at that one. Look at that. That was colonially organized, orchestrated. And then you got Compaoré there. You see? Now, what I'm saying here, we need to be very, very clear and understand. We need to be very clear that as Africans, our unity is not negotiable. So I'm going to list you a name of nations where they've carried out coups. Yeah, Angola, Benin, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, yeah, Chad, Cosmos, Congo Brazzaville, Djibouti, DR Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Ethiopia, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Madagascar, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Mozambique, Niger, Nigeria. All of what you see, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Sudan, Swaziland, Tanzania, Togo, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe. These are lists. Now, the point for us to understand is that all of these coups did not start until after colonization. Let me show you the one that I've not even talked about Gaddafi ones. The one that happened to Gaddafi. That's a coup, to be honest with you, organized by the West. Now, let me show you. I want to show you DR Congo. I showed you the one for. Didn't I show you? I think I did. Yeah, I may have shown you that. Yeah, I showed you Thomas Sankara. Now let me show you Congo. And we can talk about that. I'm going to come and talk about that later, but I'll give you more details about that. So, Congo, DR Congo. 1 second, please. I'm just gonna. Okay, I think we're there now. Yeah, here we go. So now you see here, Mobutu. Let me go back up there. You see, Mobutu, DR Congo. When they say Mobutu, what they actually mean, Mobutu took over with the tacit agreement of Belgium and US. Until today, Congo is suffering from the killing of Patrice Lumumba and the whole of Africa. The resources of the people we are not benefiting from. So the coups have been for the benefit of the colonizers. See? The great grandfathers, the work they did destroying Africa is being continued by their great grandchildren. Macron and others. As Africans, we have no business doing anything with Europe. And I'm not going to be anybody saying we need to go and look at Europe. No, Europe should do what it wants. Equally, as Africans, we must begin to work for our own interests within Africa. Our language must be supreme. Our language no longer must be. I like what Mali did. They are now promoting local languages. That's what we must do. We must be speaking our own local languages on African soil. And we must get ourselves as Africans free movement across the whole of Africa. We must trade first and foremost with Africans. All of those rules that have been put in place by the colonials, whereby you speak to us before you trade among yourselves, we must banish that. The monetary system that they put on, that is being imposed, I like what William Ruto of Kenya is doing. They're now trading in Kenyan shillings among Africans. That is what we need to do. So what am I saying in essence, Africans? It is time for us to really begin to look at things. We must take control. Our unity, unity is is not up for debate. No way. We are, it's absolute. No way. It is non-negotiable. Our unity is non-negotiable. We must unite. Those who are oppressing us, look at that table. I want you to study that table. Those who oppressed us, the Berlin Conference, they united to oppress us. And as they united to oppress us, they are uniting to ensure that they now tell us to keep ourselves divided. That's why they're instructing us to fight each other. That is why they're asking us to confront and to say, oh, we're going to go. Well, that's not a democracy. If you think that what was being practiced in Niger and other countries right now, including Nigeria, is a democracy, it is not. It is a sham. It's an illusion. It is a way for the West to continue to suck out, to take for free our resources at the expense of our people. I'm speaking as an African, and as an African, we need to look at our interest to protect our people and ensure that our people do not have to be running out of their own continent. But many of us are not aware of this information. So I'm hoping that by sharing this kind of information, we are aware. You've just seen on the list now, coups. The coups did not happen until they started doing what? Until they gave you the so-called independence. And the reason why they had to do was people were clamoring. So once the people started clamoring, okay, we have to give them, they had to find a way to control. The coup is a way to control, to ensure that they continue to get access to our resources. Now, this coup that's happened now is the people of Africa saying, no, of Nigeria saying, no, we want to control our resources. And we need to make sure that those who have carried out this coup do continue to ensure that the benefit of the resources comes to the people. And that's where our participation as people in our own governance, collectively as Africans, is important. And that's why I talk about that in Nigeria. For example, let me give you an example. This is relevant to Nigeria, but I want you to picture it as some of the things that we can do in the whole of Africa. So bear that in mind. Let me just show you what I mean. So let me do this. I want to just show you something quickly, if I can find it. Let me see. I think I have it somewhere. I know where I saw it. Just give me a minute. I do have it, but I just 1 second. Yes, so just to quickly wrap this up, I just want you to be aware of something. That's why I'm showing you this. We talked about it. This should be relevant to not only Nigeria, to all African countries. We, the people, we are the sovereigns. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria. Where it says Nigeria, sovereignty belongs to the people of Africa, from whom governments in Africa, through this constitution, derive all its powers and authority. I want you to see in that manner. But this, for purposes of what we're talking about now, we're going to focus on Nigeria so that we understand that. This is what it says in the Nigerian constitution that was imposed by the military. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom the government, through this constitution, derive all its powers and authority, which means that we are all sovereigns. And that is something I want us as Africans to see for the whole of Africa, that Africans collectively, we are sovereigns. When you think about the fact that the mineral resources beneath our feet, that makes us, we are the 30% of the world's mineral is in Africa. Mineral reserves is in Africa. And that is why the Berlin Conference and the grandfathers of those who are in government now, who are the Berlin Conference people, Otto von Bismarck and the like, their great-grandchildren now, Macron and others, are intent on ensuring that Africa remains divided so they can continue to exploit our resources. Our job as Africans must be to unite. That's why I say our unity as Africans is non-negotiable. There's a lot of work for us all to do. We must have dialogue. We must not allow any war to happen. No proxy war. We must not allow any proxy war to happen on African soil, because the beneficiaries of that war will be the colonials. So, second part of this section in the Nigerian Constitution says the participation by the people in the government shall be in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. That means that you, the people, you can participate in your governance, because why? In the Nigerian Constitution, it states that you are a sovereign. And as a sovereign, you have powers in which you can use to hold your governance to account. Many of us have not been aware of it. This is something we perhaps want to try and look at and maybe see how this can be looked at in other countries as well. But first of all, we need our active participation as people in our governance right across of Africa. Because for too long, it is obvious that because there is no participation by the people in the governance, those in government are now able to change the rules, and they are not being held accountable. Because many of our people, 50% of African of people on the African continent are either in Christianity or Islam. That occupies the mind, the mental psyche of Africans, and the governance, which is something that is affecting their lives on a daily basis, they ignore, because of the conditioning of the colonial mentality of both the twin religions of Islam, which the Muslims, the Arabs brought in 14th century when they were enslaving Africans, and the 7th century when the Arabs were enslaving Africans, and the 14th century when Europeans came to continue this enslavement. So those two have occupied, and they remain really, really prominent in the minds of Africans right now. We need to make sure that people understand the power they possess, and those things are mere illusions to keep them subservient. Sovereignty overrides all of that. Certainly in Nigeria, we're trying to make sure that people are aware that as they are sovereigns and they have the power to hold the governors to account. But they must participate in the governance on a daily basis, holding them to account, using the powers of sovereignty. So these are the kind of things we're talking about. But as you can see, that is what must come through. These are the ways in which the Berlin Conference has handed power from one generation to the next, keeping Africans oppressed in Africa. Our job now is to break free as Africans collectively from the bondage in which we've been placed. Starting with the psychological bondage, mental bondage, physical bondage, and all of that. Those borders that we have on Africa, they're not African. They were created on the table that you see. You see the map of Africa there. They carved it out. It's time for Africa to reclaim the whole entire Africa. We must do it together. We mustn't allow any war by a war by proxy to take place on African soil. Dialogue must be the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. I want to thank Mama Kandeh for his forthright words in saying that it's not only coup d'etat that's a problem, but when you have government, people who are in government impoverishing their own people and using laws, extending their time in power, and nobody says anything, that is also a coup d'etat. And we need to understand those dynamics, and people who often do that, they get the backing of the likes of the people you see on the screen, the Berlin Conference, and the likes of Macron. And that is why we as Africans, it's time we woke up. So ladies and gentlemen, when you get the broadcast, I want you to share it. You're watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. It is time for us as Africans to rise up collectively. Our unity is non-negotiable. I do not have any problems with what is happening in Europe. If they're having discussions, it is their right. Equally, as Africans, we must exercise our collective right. Africa must be free for Africans to be able to move freely, to trade freely, to make sure that our first point of contact in doing trades and businesses is with our fellow Africans. To make sure that our monetary system is something that suits and benefits Africans first and foremost. That is the mindset we need. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll stop here for now. What are your thoughts? I've shown you pictures. You've seen now the list of coups going on. 7 pages long of coups across the whole of Africa, instigated by the colonials, largely by the colonials. And what I'm saying now is now that Niger have used the same mechanism now to now begin to say, no, we actually want to control our resources. They kicked out France the other day. Let me show you something. See if I can find you that. One second. Yeah, one final thing I want to just show you. This is Citizen AY on Facebook. Please don't forget to subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube. On Facebook, we posted something. It says Niger halts gold and uranium exports to France. And France wants to continue the free access to gold and uranium from Niger. Listen to this. Niger, 1 in 3 light bulbs in France relies on uranium from Niger. Despite the uranium's role in generating electricity, only 80% of Nigeria's citizens have access to this essential resource. So France is literally taking away the resources of Africans from us. Now you see why our unity as Africans is non-negotiable. It is not even up for debate. Because I want you to remember, we need to understand that those who are oppressing us, they are united in oppression of Africa, including France, Germany, Russia, not Russia, France, Germany, Italy, UK, Spain, they are united. Russia, they obviously, with what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, you know, understand that. But even when they did this Berlin conference, Russia, they must have been an agreement whereby Russia said, we're just going to be silent, we're not going to be part of it. But they were on the table as the discussions took place. But as you saw, Russia is not doing anything in terms of oppression of Africans. They're trying to support, and you've seen what the Russians are doing. You see Vladimir Putin discussing with Ibrahim Traore and many others. There's a video that I want to show you before I go, and I need you to understand this as well. All of this is to put things in context so we understand the kind of enormous task that we have collectively as Africans. Let me show you this quick one. 1 second. I want you to listen to this before, then I will wrap up. Listen to this bit, then I will wrap up. I want you to listen to what Afwerki said to Putin about $N sanction, to understand that the mechanism, they're using the financial mechanism to strip Africa of our resources. They're doing that. Listen intently. Listen.
Manufacturing anything at all. It's printing money.
There you go. Listen.
And this has been one of their weapons. Globally,
Yes.
the monetary system, the global monetary system, controlled by dollar and euro, has been used. Sanctions here, sanctions there, grabbing this account, grabbing that account, has been one of their tools. This is not going to continue indefinitely. And we need a new financial architecture globally, not controlled by euro, not controlled by the dollar, not controlled by other currencies.
So this is what I want you. Let me listen to. I want you to listen to that bit again. We'll try again. That's African stream, by the way. But I want you to listen to it again.
They are not manufacturing anything at all. It's printing money, and this has been one of their weapons. Globally, the monetary system, the global monetary system, controlled by dollar and euro, has been used. Sanctions here, sanctions there, grabbing this account, grabbing that account, has been one of their tools. This is not going to continue indefinitely. And we need a new financial architecture globally, not controlled by euro, not controlled by the dollar, not controlled by other currencies.
So that is the point that I was trying to make there. I hope the point is well made. Africa Stream, I provided that. But I wanted you to really understand that these are the kind of things that we are really faced with as Africans. And these are the people, the driving force for all of that is, of course, what you see on the screen here. The Berlin Conference with Otto von Bismarck in 1884 has now carried on by the likes of Macron, who Niger have halted the transportation of gold and uranium used for electricity out of Africa. Why couldn't, if that's cruelty. Now you see why, as Africans, our unity is of imperative importance. Again, I'm stating it. Europe can stand alone and do their own thing for themselves, but it's time that Africans must do for ourselves, for our communities, for our people, for our coming generation, to benefit from our resources. Clearly, the resources have been taken out. Again, I'll show you this. It says here, Niger holds gold and uranium exports to France. And they'll export it at dirty prices. They're not going to pay fair value for it. But they want us to remain subservient. It's time we woke up as Africans. It's time we woke up. France was on that table. UK was on that table. Germany was on that table. It was held in Germany. US was on that table. Turkey was on that table. I think Turkey and Russia were silent. They didn't really get involved, but they were on the table nonetheless. And that's their unity. So as Africans, you now see that their unity was non-negotiable, and they used it to oppress us. To free ourselves equally, our unity must be non-negotiable. It must be non-negotiable. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Kandeh Our, the platform where we speak to the power. Let me know your thoughts on what you've seen. Leave a comment. Let's hear from you. Please share this podcast. I urge you, as you're watching this, don't forget, subscribe. Hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe, hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up. Go follow what is said on the screen. And just to give you one more help, to make sure you help us, is to go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up. One more time, go ahead and subscribe to Kandeh Our, hit the notification button, and of course, give us a thumbs up. Help us with more people. Thank you so very much. And don't forget, please subscribe. Share this message across to as many people as you can. Dialogue must be the only way forward on African soil. We are not, no proxy wars. We do not accept nor tolerate any proxy wars orchestrated by the colonials on African soil. African unity is non-negotiable. Now, please keep it locked on. Thank you and bye for now.